Having grown up in the house with a violinist, I can attest that violinists practice the 24th Caprice of Paganini a lot. So when my chance came to learn the Rachmaninoff Paganini variations, I was thrilled. And I sort of think this was a little bit of Rachmaninoff's revenge and all those music school friends who just practiced the 24th Caprice all the time. It's, of course, a great theme, and it lends itself to variation form very well, partly because Paganini already uses it for variations, and partly because so many ideas can come from it. So many composers have used it in many different ways to create variations, but I feel like Rachmaninoff's is somehow in a class apart. He probably went the furthest distance from the original in his variations. And when you get to something like the famous 18th variation, which is in such a distant key and literally upside down as well, it really feels like it's in a whole other world. That said, there's a long line of Paganini variation takeoffs. And when you get a good tune, I guess everybody just wants to make use of it. Think of it as the remix. What's great about this piece is it really functions as the Rachmaninoff's next great concerto. But because it's a theme in variations, there's certain limitations in how the arc of the piece goes. At the same time, Rachmaninoff was such a clever composer. He was able to group the different variations into sections so that it feels like a cohesive concerto. So yes, you have that truncated form of the variations, but you never feel that. They flow so seamlessly one into the next, and they build, and then you have large sections with a certain quality. And for example, at the very end, once you've calmed down the most, the last few variations build up in the most brilliant way. I always think how a composer handles variation form is really telling about their ability to understand arc in a piece. And very few pieces will whip you up into a frenzy quite like the Rachmaninoff Paganini variations. The Dies Irae is the chant of the day of wrath, when God's ire will come. And there's a specific chant that has been around since Gregorian times, and it's been used in many different kinds of compositions and many different genres, many different forms, sometimes outright, and many times as a kind of hidden message about the world, about a belief in a certain kind of judgment day that would come, and definitely became Rachmaninoff's calling card. I don't know what's up with the Dies Irae and Rachmaninoff's obsession with it, but think of it as his signature calling card. I think there are a lot of theories about his particular relationship to it, and I'm not going to espouse one opinion or another, but it's his calling card. It shows up in this piece a number of times, and I have to say, as a pianist, especially when it shows up in the deep bass of the piano, really fun to play. Okay, so Rachmaninoff had a huge hand, and what's the word? Don't. So people always ask me, how do I play this piece? And the truth is there are pieces of Rachmaninoff that I find a little tricky to play. This is less one of those. What's great about his writing is if you work really hard, you can roll a chord, get all those notes in, and it still sounds good. So I use whatever tricks I can. I do find that having a small hand sometimes makes me more tired than I would be because I'm stretching so much. But I must also say that having played this piece for many years, I feel like it has created greater flexibility in my widow hands. Whenever I play this piece, I'm convinced that I negotiate my contracts badly because I should really negotiate them by the note. I don't think I play any pieces that have more notes than this one. And that's probably the greatest difficulty in this piece, that there's just a fistful of notes and the piano's playing the entire length of the piece. That said, those notes are so comfortable in the hand. It's great playing a piece that was written by a pianist. They lie really neatly. They make a lot of sense. They're so logical. So I think that's sort of the greatest challenge of the piece, and really, in many ways, the greatest reward. It's just so satisfying in the hands when it's right. But there's a lot to get right.